Let's discuss role of a banking business analyst. A banking business analyst sits between business stakeholders and technology team to deliver banking products and system. Business stakeholders for a banking BA would be subject matter expert of retail banking, lending, or payments. Then stakeholders of governance or compliance team. And from the technology side, there could be various team involved such as data and analytics, web development or mobile development, and there could be a separate team for deployment of application as well. So banking business analysts collaborate with all these stakeholders and design banking products and systems. So in short, banking BA understand the business problem and translate them into shippable banking products. Let's take an example of a loan application. The process for approval of that loan in the application is taking a huge amount of time, and we want a relatively quick approval system for it. So business analysts would understand the business problem and with the help of the stakeholders convert them into requirements. And then the business analyst would explain those requirements to the development team, and finally will do a UAT validation so that whatever product that have been developed is as per the requirements discussed with the stakeholders. The key domains for a banking BA would be retail banking and savings and current accounts, lending, home loans, personal loans, corporate loans, payments that would be wire, ACH, SWIFT, or cards, wealth management, investment, and advisory of the clients, risk and compliance, where would be banking BA would be involved in KYC, AML, or regulations. So let's discuss the BA role from a project perspective. Firstly, BA would be doing the requirement gathering, where he would be conducting the stakeholder meetings, capturing the requirements for different applications such as loan eligibility criteria. Then we'll be performing the documentation in the depends on the project methodology, such as BRD, FRD, user stories. Then we'll be designing various process flows or processes such as is and to be process and process flows for automated decision engine. Then we'll be explaining or clarifying the requirements with the development team, and then we'll be performing the UAT validation. So UAT validation would be pre and post release of the product. Now let's understand the roles and responsibility at a fundamental level. So at a fundamental level, BA would be doing the requirement elicitation through conducting workshops and interviews. Then he would be doing the stakeholder management, that is aligning business, tech, and compliance team together. Then comes the functional part, that is designing up the user stories and process maps. Further, business analyst would be doing the data analysis and regulatory understanding. So he will collaborate with the governance teams such as KYC, AML compliance, and he will also try to identify the fraud patterns in payments. Then the last part, UAT and change management, where the business analyst would be creating test cases, validating the scenarios, and handling the requirement changes. So the different tools or application that a banking BA would be using in day-to-day work would be for requirements. Banking BA would be using Jira and Confluence for documentation such as creating a BRD, FRD, and user stories. So banking BA would be using Microsoft Word. For process mapping, usually the BAs would be using Microsoft Visio, and for data analysis, they would be using SQL or Excel. And if the data is not in the tabular format, then probably they would be using MongoDB as well. And for testing, they would be using X-Ray, which is a plugin in Jira. Skills that are required to become a banking BA. Domain knowledge such as banking concepts such as loan, interest calculation, payments. Then analytical thinking, that is breaking complex problems into procedures. Then communication skills, as banking VA would be collaborating with a lot of stakeholders from the business and tech side. Then the technical understanding of APIs and SQL databases. Finally, BA would be needing the understanding of agile methodology such as sprint planning and backlog grooming. So the top companies that are hiring for banking BAs include JP Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, HSBC, Citibank, and Bank of America. And from the fintech side, there are opportunities either in some part of it, such as lending or payments, or maybe they would be a global bank for these fintech companies as well, such as PayPal, Stripe, Revolut, Wise. And there are opportunities in consulting and tech companies, which would be consulting these global banks and fintech companies. So there are opportunities in Accenture, Capgemini, Infosys, TCS, and Cognizant.